Good evening and welcome to the October 6, 2025 meeting of the Radnor Planning Commission. We'll begin the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the August 4, 2025 meeting. These minutes were distributed previously to the commissioners in advance of the meeting. Do any of the commissioners have any changes to the minutes? Okay, if none, I'll make a motion to approve. Second? Second by Commissioner Dow. All in favor? Are you going to abstain?
Yeah, well, not one.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to abstain also. I wasn't at the August meeting.
Okay, so we have 2 abstentions. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so I believe 6 in favor, 2 abstentions. Okay, at the request of one of the applicants, we're going to switch the order of the 2 main agenda items. So the first agenda item is the consideration of application 215531. This is the 228 Stratford and 18 Forest, also known as Stratford Walk. The application seeks the approval of the final submission of the subdivision and land development plan. Here the applicants are proposing to construct 29 single-family homes on the southwest corner of Stratford Avenue and Eagle Road. As part of our consideration, we've received letters from Gannett Fleming dated September 26, 2025, and Gilmore & Associates dated September 25, 25. Also note on the Gannett Fleming letter, it says that there was a review made of the preliminary plans. That was typographical error. I've spoken with Mr. Phillips, and he has in fact reviewed the final plans. This application is subject to a settlement agreement which was approved by the Board of Commissioners on March 24, 2025, and it was further approved by the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas on April 29, 2025. And before we get into the application, I would just ask Mr. Norsini, can you just enlighten us as to what this settlement agreement covers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I don't know, the original plan was, I believe, 42 townhomes for this property, and this did go to court. At one point, the Board of Commissioners directed our township solicitor, John Rice, to negotiate a settlement agreement with the developer. The plan you see before you is the culmination of that negotiation, and this plan was approved by the Board of Commissioners, subject to going through the land development process, understanding what was on the approved plan sits as is, but it does have to meet the other requirements of the SALDO, of the Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance. As you can see by Mr. Phillips and Mrs. Bognoff's review letters, right? So those still apply.
So this is an issue that has not only been previously approved under a settlement agreement, but it was actually then approved by the court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. With that, is there a representative for the applicant?
Thank you. My name is Greg Lingo. I'm the owner of Rockwell Stratford LLC, who is the equitable owner of the property. This began kind of last fall, where our company worked in concert with the township and the current owners to create a settlement plan where we were significantly reducing the density of what was being built on the property, and then also agreeing to build single-family homes on the property. There were several other things after our interactions and meetings with the neighbors in the township that we agreed to do, such as increase some setbacks along the Grant Lane neighbors, connect the road from Stratford down to Eagle, so to help with traffic a little bit, remove curb cuts on the homes that are fronting on Stratford Avenue, and directing them through an alley in the back, among other things. We received preliminary plan approval in July, and then we're here for final. We have received the letters, and we are in agreement that we will comply with all of the comments in the letters.
Okay, so it's a will comply on all the items identified in the consultant letters.
That's correct.
Okay, so one question I have is, there are two title search reports that were in the submission that we received, and they have redactions. Do you know why they have redactions?
I don't know why, do you? Yeah, excuse me.
George Brosman, the attorney for the applicant. I typically redact, basically financial terms. So that's what I recall redacting, like prices of properties and deeds and things like that, and times and prices and agreements of sale. Although I'm not really sure why I do it in the deeds, because it is of a public record,
I
and
was going to say,
somebody
it's all public.
somebody
Not-
could check, but I just do it as a good practice on behalf of my clients.
Understood, and as a good practice on our side, I don't like to see anything redacted if it's not supposed to be redacted, because then it just begs the question, what's behind it? Especially, when the solicitor needs to, review title reports and those type of things.
Right, I did not redact anything that wasn't an economic term, so nothing was redacted that related to the title.
Okay.
George, the Forest Lane one, the other one, you only redacted what the amount of insurance is for, so obviously that's financial, that's not an issue. But the 18 Forest Lane one, you've redacted that, but then like address is redacted, stuff under taxes is redacted, under the legal description is redacted, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. So if you could,
So
if you
here
don't
we-
mind
here-
looking at that.
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I know. But when you have a chance, I don't think it's probably anything big, but it's a little strange. I understand, I have no problem with you redacting
Right.
what your clients paid for the property, even though, yeah, we could probably dig it up.
Yeah.
But
I'll send you the
rest of it-
unredacted copy.
yeah.
Maybe it was from a prior submission, but I'd be happy to send unredacted
Okay.
to you.
Thank you.
Perfect. That's it. Okay, Mr. Phillips, any further comment from you?
No, as long as they agree to comply with everything in the letter.
Okay.
Well, I'll work with their engineer until everything's complete.
Perfect. And for Gilmore, anything further?
No, nothing else.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions by any of the commission members? No. Are there any members of the public that wish to be heard? Okay.
Chairman, I have a question for the applicant. This was probably part of the settlement, but it looks to me like the site has been platted so that the new road as well as the alley are all private. Is that correct?
Correct. We're happy to dedicate the new road if the township wants it, but right now we're planning on private roads.
And is the township okay with a private road?
Yes, yes, sir. As part of that settlement agreement and talking with the developer, that was the alley and that road would be private. Developer will maintain it. Developer's going to provide the trash collection and all that good stuff.
And as a private road, it complies with the fire department road standards?
The fire department did review the plan.
Okay. That's it. That's it, no further questions.
Okay, if there are no further comments or questions, can I have a motion?
Yes, so in the matter of application 215-531, 204-228 Stratford and 18 Forest, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. Okay, second. All in favor? So we,
Abstain one more time. Hopefully someday I can say it's a site matter, I can look at it, but right now I have still a conflict with, because site engineering is employed by a partnership of mine, so it's an abstain.
okay, so we have we have 7 in favor, 1 abstention by Commissioner Kunda. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration of zoning hearing board appeal 3240 concerning 118 to 120 North Wayne Avenue. As part of a consideration, we've received letters from Gannett Fleming, Gilmore and Associates, both dated May 22, 2025. Those letters relate to the review of a sketch plan and the reconstruction of the property to include a restaurant, retail, office, and 4 residential apartment units. This project is located in the Wayne Business Overlay Zoning District of the Township, and the Gannett Fleming letter identified the need for 2 zoning variants, including zoning code section 280-53.12B for off-street parking, 280-53.12C for off-street loading. Do we have a representative for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes, sir.
going to recuse myself from, this project's one that is in my office.
Understood.
Good evening. My name is Michael Berg. I'm a lawyer with Saul Ewing. I'm a partner of Dave Falcone, who presented this application to the Planning Commission on June 2nd. He's not available tonight, so I'm standing in, and I'm with the applicant is actually North Wayne LLC. The owner behind that, Joe Smogard, is here with our team tonight. Dan Cholino, excuse me, with Vanderhorst Architects, and John Anderson with Cornerstone, the civil engineer who worked on the plan. So I'm sure you recall from June 2nd, this is a demolition and reconstruction of 118 and 120 North Wayne to create new restaurant, retail, office, 4 apartment units on top, basically the same height levels, I believe, the other buildings adjoining. The variances are for parking. We're proposing 4, 58 are required. We proposed 7 on June 2nd. The commission preferred 4 to reconfigure the parking area in the back. So we're back with a plan that I believe is the same except for the 4 spaces, Dan. So we're scheduled to be at the zoning hearing board on October 16th, and we're looking for a recommendation from the Planning Commission for this application with a specific mention, possibly if you are willing to, that the parking was specifically approved by the Planning Commission.
Okay. Can you walk us through the parking situation and what you're asking
I
for?
can have somebody much more competent than me do that, and he is right here. Dan?
Hi, Dan Cholino, Baronhorst Architects. So the plan is virtually the same from when we presented for the sketch plan a few months ago. The North Wayne Ave off of here has an access road, a common access alley that goes to an access easement in back of these properties, which provides direct access to our property at 118, 120. we're utilizing that access easement for drive access back to this area where there'll be 4 parking spaces. These parking spaces intended to be dedicated to the 4 apartment units.
So where is the easement?
So this distance across here, this 25 feet, and for the length back here, and then there's a common alleyway.
Okay. So the box between that dotted line and the shaded area, what's that?
The box between,
Go back to your dotted line on the easement.
which one, this one here?
Mm-hmm.
Are
So
you talking
where,
about this piece right here, or this back here?
so where is the easement again? Where does the easement stop?
The easement is this width,
Mm-hmm.
and then this length,
Okay. And where does it stop?
right here,
Okay. And where does your property begin?
up here.
So your question was about the shaded line, right?
So what does the shaded area represent?
Built area, so where the proposed building is going.
Can't be your building, what do you mean?
So where the,
This gray shaded area, if that's what you're talking about, is
yeah.
the proposed
No.
built.
okay.
He's not talking about that, he's talking about above that, where you have the solid line and the hash line, the vertical, very narrow little strip, what's that?
Oh, it's just a pedestrian access. It's striped parking, it's just striped lines on the pavement. It's not
Do
built.
they, I haven't been back myself yet, but do they indicate pedestrians only or no vehicles or anything? Is there a common shared thing? I think we have someone in the audience who is very familiar too with the area.
Yeah, that's all part of our property. This bit that's shaded right here is on the
I guess-
118, 120
I
property.
guess the question is, why is it shaded? Because you say it's a pedestrian part of the easement. So that means the easement really, you might say is not really.
It's an area of the access drive that we are going to say is for pedestrian use. The zoning code requires 22 feet for the drive access, so we'll provide that, and then 3 additional feet is for pedestrian, and then we'll stripe it.
Okay.
So
Let
it's
me-
not part of the drive.
Let me just make sure I understand. Where does your property stop on the, going side to side there?
It's this thickened line that's here,
Like the state of Pennsylvania.
and it follows the shaded area for the rest.
Okay, so the part that is an easement, well, let me say that again.
It's a little bit of the easement that dips into our property. And I'm just gonna hatch it right here, that's this portion.
Okay, so there is no gap between the easement and your property, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. What's that? An overlap.
Am I correct in, it seems to me like the easement's actually on the wrong side. Is that correct? Like, as I understand easements, you want the easements to be where the traffic you drive through, but it looks like the way people are parking back here, they're actually parking in the easement and driving on private property. Is that correct?
That's the way it's currently operating.
Okay.
That's correct.
Do you envision it to be any different going forward?
I think that's going to be, maybe I'm not qualified to answer that question. I think it's more of a legal question in between the adjacent property owners and our property.
Have you discussed it with the adjacent property owners so far?
That has not specifically been discussed. No.
Just to clarify, as drawn and designed here,
the use of that easement in the adjacent properties would have to change from current practice because they're parking in a way that would block vehicles from accessing your new parking spots, right? Like the 22-foot wide drive aisle that you mentioned wouldn't be accessible if the current practice of parking back there were to continue as is.
That's correct.
Could I ask if you could step through the entrance and exit drive? Mr. Phillips' comment was minimum width of an entrance and exit drive for two-way use is 25 feet. Could you talk about that?
I can describe what the widths are currently, if that's what you're asking.
Or how you would comply, or can you comply, or?
Well, the access drive off of Wayne Ave is only 13.8 feet, so that won't comply strictly with the code. But the access easement back on the back of the property is 25 feet.
So if a car is exiting and entering at the same time, somebody's got to back up in the way it's proposed?
Yeah, likely, if they can't pass each other.
Yeah,
correct.
13 foot, it's rough. Yeah, okay.
You know, I don't want to be redundant because this may have been discussed months ago when I was out on medical reasons. The use that you propose in the new construction, how is that property being used right now with people parking here? Are you actually, is your trash for the restaurant back there, et cetera, et cetera? Or is there an alley yet below that's in?
So you can see what's happening. There's currently a restaurant in this building, and then dry cleaners next to it, both on our property. Trash is kept roughly back here, and vehicle parking is, as you mentioned, is along that alley easement or access easement.
As shown in this picture, the vehicle parking on your property, the applicant property, is within the private property portion after the easement ends, right? The gray area you colored in. The vehicles
Correct.
north of there
Yeah.
are parked in the 25-foot wide easement that's recorded. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Is that the area where you get the additional 3 parking spots? On your variance application, you need like 58, I think, and you say you're providing 7, so
We're providing,
4
we're providing
underneath.
4,
You're providing 4 or not 7?
not 7, just 4.
Just 4, okay, thank you.
Can you point out the 4 again?
Yeah. They're labeled on this plan 1, 2, 3, 4.
On the photograph, is there any, what's between the gray building with a little, like, looks like a bottle with a screw top? What is that little lane above that? You see what I mean? That building fronts on Lancaster, so that little spot there, is that a lane? Is that paved? What is that? Right below your legend of, the address.
This is at an elevation considerably lower than grade that's here, and then this is private property.
No,
But
I
does have-
I assumed it wasn't yours. I just wondered what it was used for. Does it have access that you might be able to get in a different way to your property?
Well, so
Possibly.
here's that width here, so you can get a general idea of its scale or its size. But yeah, as I mentioned, it's some 10 feet or so below our grade at current parking level.
So how will, with the way the cars are, I'm actually trying to look at your plan as well as the aerial. How will the trash come in to access the trash containers?
Trash is brought out. Trucks aren't coming down that alley currently.
They're rolling the dumpsters out onto North Wayne, aren't they? And then,
They are, yeah.
okay. The trash truck can't get in here.
I can actually speak to this better.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
I also have something to overlay with you, if you don't mind. This is, where does it go here? Sorry, mine's small. I took advantage of his posted, lovely rendering. I'm not an architect or anything. Oh, by the way, I'm Andy Dickerson. I own Teresa's Cafe next door, 126 to 124 North Wayne. I share the alley. I'm sorry, it's small, I apologize, is a rendering of last night, like 25 hours ago, of how we park in the alley for the 28 years I've been there. The easement will work if you move it to the center more, and you will never pass two cars in that alley. The way trash is handled is the trash trucks back up all the way, where are we here, sorry. The trash trucks back up all the way down the alley and stop here, and even 118 now, myself, they roll their dumpsters over there. Totally fine. It's just we need to move this garage entrance a little more centered, or it's just not gonna flow very well, unless you're gonna change everything we've all done forever. I'm not against any part of this project, guys. We just need to look at it more and have a little more thought into that part. Does that make sense? Sorry to disrupt, I apologize. I just want to show a practical view of how it operates.
The owner is open to making adjustments to that
I'm not
easement.
here to stop it. I just
No, yeah,
want you
it's
to
okay.
Just think how it operates now, and even for your own sake, for the dumpsters rolling out and everything, it's the center you're gonna have as an easement, not against this far side like you have, Charles.
If I can say, it was that, so.
Here, hold on. Come up.
Sorry. Joe Smogart, the owner of North Wayne LLC. We actually, when we came for the sketch plan, we actually originally had it along how it actually is parked, and we didn't follow the easement. We had it rearranged and the parking differently. But at the recommendation of the committee during the sketch plan, we changed it to follow the easement and not current practice. So this way we actually did everything by the book and checked every box as we're supposed to, so it follows the legal easement, as opposed to doing it in current practice to bring it here today. So when we first came, that's actually how it was set up, was we had it going down the other way and we had the parking up top. But then, at the recommendation during the sketch plan, we actually switched it so it follows the easement and we can park. I have no problems with rearranging it to make it fit practical, but we wanted to do what was recommended to us from the sketch plan.
Let me just ask you a quick question. Is this like cut out? Is this like the building is on top of it?
Yeah.
The building overhangs this portion here, the parking.
Like the second floor overhang?
Correct, yeah.
So I'm just wondering where that little, part that's sticking out.
The flag.
The little flag right there.
Yeah.
No, I guess where that black dot is.
Here.
Yeah. Is the discussion you were just having, should the entrance be here or there? I mean, just one thought, if you cut it and made it just flush to make a wider mouth there with that.
Completely flexible on how we approach the site or how we enter the site.
Yeah, that would be my only recommendation, is shift that.
I'm just saying, if you cut that little, if you made the mouth of it wider, and then you could enter it however, it wouldn't be so restrictive to fish your car into that area, that's all.
Yeah, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, I have no problem. I think that's probably the structural post, right?
Yeah, it's a column, but
Yeah,
yes,
column, thank
it's.
you.
We're at
That's
the
what you're
early,
here for.
we're at the early stages, so that could easily be moved.
Yeah.
To be
I-
clear, that would require that all of the neighboring owners agree to a revised easement that runs further east of where it is today, per the deeds, right?
Well, I guess what I was thinking, if you cut that little part that's sticking out, you still have the easement opening on the left side, but from practice of where people are parking, it would allow you more of a straight shot into the parking area.
Essentially, if you move this over here, you're now splitting both, and you'd be able to have access on either side.
You would be consuming from
Yeah,
the
more of it there.
rear
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
lot that the Tiger Shop currently sits on to do that, though, would you not?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
You have the portion of your lot that extends north in that western corner that reaches to the easement, right? If you wanted to shift the entrance to the garage, you'd have to then consume part of the Tiger Shop lot at the rear, right?
As a drive access, correct.
Right.
Are you saying that that black dot is a pillar of some type?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So overall, I think, one issue that people are thinking about, at least I'm thinking about, it's one thing when you have a requirement for parking on commercial, people that come and go during the day, but now you're adding the issue of residential and having 4 units, and these are people that are going to be there all the time or, have access all the time. And so that's the thing that's in my mind.
Are they going to mix trash? Is it going to be residential and commercial in the same bins?
We've allotted enough space to keep the commercial and residential bins separate. They're all collected in one central trash room, but there's enough space to keep them separate.
So that's a trash room with the split doors. That means the things you're hauling out are relatively small containers of trash.
Yeah, three-yard dumpsters.
Behind me. Maybe behind me.
That's a lot in one spot.
Yeah, I want to build off that comment there, because right now it seems to me, and I can actually see this on Google Street View, is that this space back here is sort of a handshake agreement among all the owners here of how to use this space. Am I correct? Sort of, empty kegs I see here, dumpsters, cars parked, and things like that. But I think once you introduce 4 tenants into this space, you no longer can rely on this handshake agreement, because you don't know who these tenants are. You don't know when they need to egress. You don't know if there is a fire hazard back here.
Additionally, this is going to be what, condos, or is this going to be rental properties?
Rentals.
There could be safety issues back here. I mean, it seems like I don't know.
Just one thought.
But Commissioner Kim, I mean, that's part of why in the last meeting, I think it was my comment, to follow the property as recorded. This plan as presented to us today does not rely on a handshake agreement, does not imply that current practice will continue. It relies on common access of an easement as recorded to be used for drive access to the property, right? So I appreciate that there is current practice and totally understand the practical implications of that. I think in order for the applicant to accommodate that, there would have to be an agreement that memorializes the revised access to reflect current practice that comes back to us with a revised plan that shows driveway access will run through the current drive aisle, right? I mean, it's one or the other. If that revised access agreement isn't drafted or agreed upon by 3 of the neighboring owners and the applicant, then this plan would come back, and eventually, if I'm, for myself speaking, I would have to vote to ultimately allow it through because it follows the property as recorded in the deed. So we kind of have one choice or the other as far as I see it, and I may misunderstand the legal ramifications of it or implications, but this does not suggest that current practice will continue. This suggests that the easement will be followed as recorded on the deed and the rights granted to this owner, right?
That's right. And what we contemplate, as you know, this is a process. You start with a sketch and you get ideas and then you refine them. And we need to get to the next stage, the zoning hearing board. At the point that we're starting to prepare land development plans, we're going to have to speak with Andy and other folks and work out something that everybody
Absolutely.
agrees to.
I'm not, I didn't come up here to block.
No, we
I did not
appreciate
come
you
here to
doing it,
block
yeah.
the easement. I just want to make sure everyone's
Yeah.
aware of the easement. And just, all I said was move the opening a little for you all. For me, there's more understanding to your point and Mr. Vine's point about the overall alley access for residents is a bigger thing you need to consider, and as do you. You've allowed, if they need 58 spaces and you're only asking for 4, at this point, just waive the other 4 and don't put the residents back there. You're going to save a whole lot of nightmares. As someone that started up parking years ago through my business, I apologize, but for real, residents back there are not going to be like it. They're going to get blocked in by people picking up at the pizza shop, the bagel shop, a delivery to any of the other restaurants, not just on our side, but in the suburban building. It's not an inviting spot for residential people to be going through.
I just think from a real estate development standpoint, which is my background, I just think is that, and as well as from a practical standpoint, for the owner who is putting the plan together, if you want to maximize your return, maximize the rent, this is something you really want to think through, because it's like, going back from a practical standpoint, if I'm going to be parking my car next to a dumpster that's behind a restaurant, no offense.
I'm not offended.
You know,
28 years, I
yeah.
know.
This is something, would I want to be doing that? If I'm going to be maximizing the rent in a fantastic area, next to a train station, in a fantastic town, and whatever. I don't know.
Please, I just wanted to bring to light, it won't be easy for the residents to go in and out.
Yeah.
No matter what's decided, because the easement's there, easement's always been there, and it's a shared easement that we've all shared for a long time, but it's easier as businesses. When you introduce this for residents, I feel there will be conflict that we could resolve now and not down the road.
Just wondering if you even need parking.
Yeah, I agree with my Commissioner Nat here, and I asked the owner, will not providing off-street parking affect the marketability of these units?
Fantastic location, because you're right next to the train station.
That, to be honest, I don't think not providing parking would hinder the marketability of the units materially. I'm sure there would be some because people want a car, but the people we envision renting in this space are going to be, like, they're looking for walk to Wayne and commute to the train. And there's other parking options that are available nearby. You know, we really tried to accommodate as many parking spaces as we could the first time around and wanted to provide as much as we can, absolutely, to get this project approved and through. But, you know, I'd say if you're willing to approve it with no parking, I would have no problem with that.
So, personally, it's one thing to waive the requirement for commercial, but it's another if we want to go down the path of now plowing residential in places where you haven't had residential and not provide parking and just hope they just take the train and, that's the end of it. Let me ask you one other question. With regard to the tenants, the residential tenants, what is their ingress, egress?
So that's Dan.
Their pedestrian ingress?
No, if you're in your apartment, you want to get out, what are your options of getting out of the building?
We have
Yeah,
two,
that's
correct?
what I'm
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So you're the physical body, not a car. That's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your primary entrance is off of Wayne, and then there's a separate corridor to an elevator lobby and a stair.
Mhm. So what's going on in the back corner? Yeah, where does that go?
This stair goes up to the second level
Okay.
only,
Okay.
and it's a second means of egress for the office space. That's
Okay, and does the second floor have access to the internal stairwell as well?
They do, yes.
Okay.
The elevator is there as well.
There is a rear door next to that ADA spot, correct?
There is, yeah. And
Have you-
that's primarily for, as people park to get into the building.
Could you do parking underneath in a, like some properties have underground parking?
That's, my understanding is it's not really feasible for this location and this lot.
It's a significant expense for what would amount to virtually the same amount of parking spaces, because you need to get a ramp that's down there. And that ramp is gonna be some 40 feet or so.
It's also pretty narrow.
Is there any opportunity to cut a deal with the property behind? Because I see that their parking seems to meet right up to it. It looks like there's access off of West Wayne Avenue. I don't know if it's if there's a grade differential or.
Yeah, I think it's a couple, maybe 2 or 3 feet. So 3 feet, okay.
Just in terms of thinking creatively. And there's a restaurant at the front of it. What is that? I'm not familiar with that alley, actually. I don't think I've ever been down there. Do you know what that building is behind you there? Is that apartments or residential?
Are you talking about this building
Yep.
right here? It's a residential building.
It's a residential apartment building, and there's the Buena Vista Mexican on the very, very
Yeah.
front of it. All their trash is all next up to the Great American Pub.
No, I've been there. I didn't realize there was those apartments behind
Yeah,
it.
it's a sidewalk between the fence and our parking lot and their building, and then they have their narrow little strip there to get in and out.
I think the chair has the point, though, that you're about to waive rights for people in a residential setting. They're gonna, I don't see this as a great idea at all. I know that you're limited by the space, but you don't have to actually try to put residences in. I mean, I know it's an economic benefit, I'm sure, but.
To be honest, it's not much more of an economic benefit than commercial, but it's what we were looking to do. I mean, I build residential primarily.
Mhm.
I'd like to put all residential in, right? That's what I do. But no, my real goal is to put my businesses on the second floor. I want a showroom for my home building. I have a home and auto insurance company. I have a real estate team. I'd like to make that second floor used completely for my businesses. And the idea then is to have the third floor be residences, because I have a lot of friends and people I know that are interested in living in the area, and thought it would be really nice to have, 4 penthouse-style apartments. I mean, they're only 1 bedrooms, but they're not huge, but nice units to have people be able to live and patronize the area. So the idea was to bring people to Wayne and have them be able to, function, live, and enjoy the community.
Let me just ask you a question. The part that is, above the shaded area, that's part of the, I guess,
Yep, that would be, yeah.
that's your property? And-
So, yeah, this little square,
Okay.
that was deeded with this property.
Is there going to be any parking in that area at all?
So again, to meet the current easement requirements, no.
Mhm.
So the way it is currently, you have to drive in and drive down the easement, and then really, we are going down to 4 spaces. You can't really fit more. I mean, maybe debatably you could fit a space there, but I don't think you actually can with the 2 behind each other. So I think that was the maximum we could do when we follow the easement requirements. If you were to go through practical standards, right, where they're not actually following the easement and you're going through, yeah, we could have parking along the entire top and add another 5 or 6 spaces.
No. I'm just asking, with what you're proposing going forward, if you had your plan, is that something that would be like painted off, marked off, that no one is parking in that area?
No.
No, you're going to park in that area.
The plan that we're showing here, you would completely, if you parked in this area, you would completely block off 4 parking spaces. So you would trade
Oh, I know.
essentially 2 parking
I
spaces.
know, and I'm asking you, is that going to be like marked off, that no one's going to park there going forward?
Like no parking signs?
just that, you know, someone doesn't try to squeeze in another space and now they're parking in the way of, you know.
I think there's another layer that happens after this. This is a discussion with the adjacent property owners to come to an agreement that satisfies everybody.
But that's your, is that your property?
Yes.
Yeah,
This portion here, yes.
yes. So I mean, you're not going to talk to anyone about that. That's your property. I'm just saying, are you not, you know, are you going?
Well, it's within the
No, no, no,
easement
no,
too,
no.
right?
It's an easement for Tiger
Yeah.
Shop.
It's,
It is in part within the easement. This area that I hatched and pegged is an overlap with that easement.
right. So I appreciate the applicant showing us this, the drawing with easement as contemplated today, right? So we're dealing with what is present today. And I think there's two layers to this. Number one, to Commissioner Dow's point, is that this exists today, and I think the applicant is entitled to use it as it exists. And if we go into land development and there's another agreement on where to put this easement, then that can be hashed out at that point. I also think that it's a slippery slope for us to sit here and approve a residential development without at least following our parking ordinance and regulations. So I think 4 spaces at a minimum is required. This is what we suggested last time, or at least I suggested it last time, and that's what you're giving us. The problem here is really in that, for me, is in that existing common alleyway. It makes it somewhat inhospitable for two-way traffic, and when you introduce additional residential traffic, that does become problematic. That said, how you use those 4 spaces ultimately is not under our control here. So if this is converted to office spaces sometime down the road, this is out of our purview at that point. So
Let me ask you another question. If you get 4 residents in the property and none of them need an ADA space, who is parking in that ADA space?
I think one of those spaces is required to be.
Right,
ADA, but-
right. So I'm just saying, so if you don't have,
So if these spaces are dedicated to the residents and then none of the residents require that ADA space,
Mhm.
then,
Still has to be an ADA
I think it still gets called an ADA space.
I don't think it called ADA space. It's,
I don't know.
you don't have parking for one of the residents then.
I think our intent is that a resident could park there if there are no residents that require ADA spaces.
I don't know what I'm allowed to or not allowed to do. Let me answer that one. Don't have the answer.
I think it's a dedicated ADA space. That's it. Now,
Mr. Norsini, if we have a dedicated ADA space and we don't have an ADA user,
So it's a requirement to have ADA. I don't believe that you can just remove an ADA because one of the residents doesn't have the requirement for an ADA spot.
can anybody then park there?
I think strictly speaking, once it's designated an ADA space, it only can be accessed by someone who needs an ADA space. And just because, oh, we don't have any residents who are going to use it, and this is only limited to residents, you can't get around it that way. So strictly speaking, legally speaking, that space can only be used by a resident who requires an ADA space.
So, Mr. Nelson, if you didn't have residents up on top, you just had the office commercial, would you still have to have an ADA space, or is it only because you have?
No, you still have to have an ADA space.
Okay.
If you are providing off-street parking, you have to provide an ADA space.
Right. So the point is that this ADA space is not an ADA resident space. It's an ADA space.
I think under the ADA law, yes. This is something I'm not sure of, because obviously as a private property owner, you can control who parks, you know, on your property. But I believe as a business owner, you know, for offices or retail, you're going to be obligated to provide an ADA.
When you say ADA space, is this the type of space that requires, you know, you have the signage that says if you park here, it's a $500 fine or whatever, and if
Yes,
you don't have a
there's a
placard?
whole set of federal rules that surround how the space is prepared, where it is located, how you can access that space via walking. There has to be an ADA accessible path from the space into whatever business is being served by the space.
I just meant, if you park in the space and you don't have a license plate or a placard, are you subject to getting ticketed? Is it marked in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not something that's up for debate. It's either you have a license or a placard, or you get ticketed and towed, assuming you could get a tow truck back there.
Yes. So I mean, there's the practical there's the legal aspect, which is an ADA space. It only can be parked in. There's a practical aspect, is who's going to go back there to find out if someone is violating that law. Like, I don't believe Radnor Township is going to be sending their parking enforcement officers back there to see whether or not that is being enforced.
May not. I'm just saying, in order to have a discussion as to what these spaces are, if you don't have an ADA tenant, then you're not going to have parking for your tenants. You're going to be one short.
Yes.
This application, as shown on the calculations, is already one parking space short for the residential use, right? It says one space per dwelling unit plus one overflow space per 4 units. So the residential alone would require 5 spaces.
My understanding of that section of the code is that the overflow space can be public parking as well. So with ample amount of public parking around, that was our intent.
Okay.
Can I just?
We just want to amend my statement before. We have no intention on breaking any federal laws.
Yeah.
And state law as well?
State or municipal.
Commissioner Vines, can I just raise maybe a conceptual question, or maybe just raise a slight discussion here? What happens if we waived the requirement of the residential parking, and the applicant could go before, I'm assuming, the zoning committee, where they would actually ask for relief in exchange for giving up the parking in the back because in my mind, the parking is compromised. And also, if you do have the ADA, and I can't remember if the ADA spot, is that elevated? Because I guess the question is, can that ADA spot, can that be used for someone who wants to access your restaurant?
I wouldn't think they would.
Okay, all right. But anyway, I think that.
The restaurant concern for that building makes sense, but I don't think they would use that. How would they know to get back there down?
Okay, all right. Okay, I can't remember if it's elevated or how can they get in there. Anyway, but I just think the parking there is tight for the resident. But having said that, because I think it's such an ideal location, And I think also because of the demographic is changing in our town, particularly the younger folks, where a lot of people, they may opt not to have cars, given the fact of scooters, e-bikes, et cetera, and opting to use public transportation, et cetera. So why not explore the idea of giving up the spaces for the use of public transportation and having that taking advantage of the location, if you wanted to go that route.
So the concern that's in my mind is the idea of waiving spaces that are required for commercial. But if we start waiving spaces for residential, just hoping that we'll get residents with no cars, you know, it just seems like a road that I don't know if would be good to go down.
But I understand your point, and I'm not disagreeing with your point. But if you are literally 100 feet, 200 feet from a train station.
Yeah, but it's a train station that goes to Thorndale and Philadelphia. It doesn't go to the grocery store, King of Prussia, and everywhere else.
I think we also have a traffic study that is pending for the WBOD, so I'd be interested to take a wait-and-see approach on that before deciding to waive any parking spaces for residential in the WBOD.
But this is just as a one-off type of a thing. This is just not as if a blanket or just for the Wayne Business District. This is just, as I said, this would just be going to the zoning as you're just getting relief on one particular.
Yeah, I understand.
Property.
I understand that our recommendation is not precedential. I also understand that the zoning hearing board's ruling is not going to be precedential either. But you know, the practical sense of it is that what we decide and what zoning hearing board then decides does get attention by other developers.
Yeah.
So you can see more of this. I think we want to be somewhat consistent. We don't have all the facts on parking. We do know that parking is dwindling in downtown Wayne. And we need to understand what kind of resident lives there in the WBOD before we make any waivers or any determination to not follow our code.
I have a thought.
I have a thought as well, but go ahead, see if it's the same thought.
Okay. I was wondering, what if we kept the spaces as 4 spaces, but used them for commercial instead of for residential? Meaning, we're not asking for residential to be back there, but we're keeping commercial. So we're still meeting the requirement of 4, or talking to Dan, if I had to shrink the building, which I don't ideally want to do, but we could shrink it and possibly squeeze in 5 spaces. So you have 4 plus the ADA space.
Well, you
And
had
then
7 before.
We did
So
have 7.
So I
yeah.
think 5 is.
Well, 7 was not
possible.
following the easement as it is legally. 7 was following as it is practically, but not legally. So this keeps us within our legal rights. But my thought was maybe keeping the spaces so that we have them. Meaning, you know, yes, you're waiving it on the residential requirement, but we're offsetting that with still space, the same amount of space as you would require for residential, but for commercial.
So I think we're going in a different direction.
Okay, you go, what was your idea?
Yeah.
I'm just
My idea is that you right now have 4 spaces, but you really only have 3 spaces.
Yeah, I follow that.
So if you have 3 spaces, would you be willing to have 3 apartments?
Oh. I wouldn't let that hold this
I have
up.
an answer. I wish to revise my earlier decision. In a parking lot with 4 or fewer spaces total, 1 van accessible parking space is required, but a sign identifying it is not needed. And here's the important part, and anyone can use it.
Okay.
Well, how about that?
Okay, so Mr. Nelson, it would not be marked in the same way as the spaces that you would find throughout Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have an ADA. Yeah, I think it has to be designed to be an ADA space, but it's not marked as an ADA space.
Okay.
Okay.
With respect to
I,
the earlier,
honestly, it doesn't, because it doesn't make any sense to me of what that means, but.
with respect to the earlier discussion around waiving the parking requirements because of the sort of less than ideal access conditions and everything, I mean, I would agree with Chairman Vines and Commissioner Fruman on that point, that, you know, whether it's complicated or somewhat challenging to fit in 4 spaces or not, 4 spaces are still better than 0 and still reflect the 4 units that you're proposing on the 3rd floor. So, you know, people living in Philadelphia certainly value their parking space if they can squeeze it in an alley behind a tight building and pay a premium for apartments with parking versus apartments without them. So I just don't think there's really a need to say now for tenants that are not yet in a building that's not yet built, they can all live without parking spaces, and therefore we should waive the spaces altogether. So I think 7 was aggressive and hard to fit in there and relied on practice that's currently in place that violates an easement. 4 seems to fit in tight but efficiently and mirror the 4 proposed units on the 3rd floor. So if the parking requirement is calculated as 58 spaces and we're getting 4, we've already waived 54 parking spaces. I don't think we need to waive all 58, in my opinion. So, thanks.
I'd like to throw one more possible solution, but you'd have to negotiate with the Tiger Shop principal who's sitting there. If he leased 2 spaces behind his building, which maybe he uses, but maybe he doesn't on a permanent basis to you, and they become available for this parking and you pay him on an annual basis, would that work for you in this particular setting? Because that's a way of using the easement that nobody can park in your easement area and property area, so that's kind of like all by itself right now, and it appears from your drawing there's nothing back there now except the wall of his building.
I mean, I have no problem with such a setup at all, but
I think
that's
you
out
have
of
to
my
float
control,
that
really.
with Mr. Dave right behind you there.
So we tried to do everything as, again, compliant to the easement and to the actual, like, regulations as they are. So we didn't want to come in with some plan of a lease, right? Because leases can end, right? As long as
actually,
it's in place till he no longer owns the building, and then we have a problem. So we're just trying to be permanently compliant was the goal. But I mean, I have no problem setting up an arrangement personally.
Well, this was done in King of Prussia many years ago. They had a use and they rented space and had a shuttle back and forth from another parking lot for a restaurant again like this. That's the old Peacock Gardens spot on Route 202, if you remember that. But anyway, showing my age. Anyway, I think if you spoke to Dave, he might be able to do something that would be of interest to everyone here.
Yeah, that's something that might evolve over time, just like negotiating with Andy and other folks on the easement area to maximize the most efficient use and flow for everybody.
Okay.
Can you guys please try speaking into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Okay, I drifted off. Yeah. A lease or other arrangement that isn't formalized at this point is something, you know, we would look into later on, along with reshuffling the easement to the extent that it was agreeable to the other people who use the easement. So, but that's really down the road, pun intended. So I think we'd like to stick with the 4 spaces and let the market determine whether it's more likely you're going to lease to somebody who doesn't have a car, doesn't want a car, or puts a car there and just leaves it for when they go up to Connecticut, you know, twice. Who knows what's going to happen? But we can put the 4 spots in. That's the plan that we've proposed, and hopefully you folks will see fit to give us a recommendation of the zoning hearing board.
I was right there until you mentioned Connecticut.
Sorry.
Okay, at this point, how about if we hear from the public? Anyone from the public wish to be heard?
You said everything I wanted. I spoke up last time.
Please speak into the mic.
Come on.
Having you go up anyway. Come on.
David Abraham, owner of the Tiger Shop. Yeah, I spoke last time, and I was a little aggressive, I think. And I don't have a whole lot to say. I think everything's been said. Andy showed a lot, and I just wish you men could come behind that alley and see what goes on back there. You'd have a much better understanding. I mean, the alley's a pain. It's a pain in the neck. It always is. People park. Sometimes even the cops got to come and get people to move their car. They think they can park where they want. So anyway, I don't really have a lot to. I don't have too much more input than what's been said, really.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Okay. Mr. Nelson, Mr. Norsini, do you have anything further?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. Any planning commission members have any further comment or question?
How wide is that alley again? The access alley?
It's at 13.
13.8 feet.
So can,
Yeah, it's one car. When the trash truck's back in, you can't even get around it.
so can a fire truck get back there if they ever want to?
They wouldn't try.
Okay.
So that's what's existing now, and then you have the question, I think we had thought about that earlier, whether you'd want whether the fire department would want to put a truck back there in the event of emergency. That may not be a good placement. That's why I was asking, where is the ingress egress?
Yeah.
Which is at the front of the building, so that if there was an issue, they would be able to spill out onto the street and get away from.
Well, that also goes back to my concern, why have more cars back there?
Yeah. And that was where that second concern was with the second floor, that they have the access in the parking area, but then they also have access to the internal stairwell for emergency. Okay. With that, would anyone like to try to make a motion?
Sure. In the matter of zoning hearing board application, appeal 3240, I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the zoning hearing board planning commission approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Could you repeat your motion one more time?
So in the matter of zoning hearing board application, appeal 3240, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval to the zoning hearing board.
Withdraw my second. I want to disapprove.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. We have, what is that, seven ayes, all opposed?
I think you had 6 ayes and 1 nay.
Yes.
And one recusal.
Sorry. Okay.
He's a lawyer, not a mathematician.
That's right.
Who's the no?
Commissioner Kunda.
Kunda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. That was a fascinating discussion, and it'll really help form the considerations in the alley. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll tell Mr. Falcone that you done a fine job.
Well, thank you. I think he's watching.
Okay, the next meeting in the Planning Commission is scheduled for November 3, 2025. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Have a good night.